In this video, we're going to be talking about some of the things that may be killing your auditions and stopping you from booking jobs. And by the end of this video, you'll have a good picture of the things you should stop doing immediately to help you start booking more consistently. And by the way, if you're new here to this channel, my name is Jesse Carroll. I'm a professional voice actor and coach, and I've made over $1 million in voiceover in the last 7 years. And I want to show you how to do the exact same. So if you want to devour more content like that, click subscribe, click the like button, click the notification button so you know when there'll be more videos released just like this one. What is killing your auditions? I just figured out how to use a Scala draw. I'm very impressed with myself. So let's go over here. One of the first things, overacting, definitely one of those killers in voiceover. I wouldn't say a silent killer because overacting is pretty in your face. And what does that look like? Overacting looks like pushing too hard. When you start doing voiceover, there's a tendency to want to feel like you're doing something, like you're performing, like you're acting, like you're putting on a voice. Don't do that. Here, let's look at an example of how to actually navigate this. So what do I mean by that? When you're pushing too hard, that comes across like this. So this first line is, you ought to get to know refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. So the way you should be doing this is just saying this like as if you're talking to a friend, just talking to somebody right in front of you, like they're a foot away from you. You want to say it like, you ought to get to know refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Just like that, simple like that, just talking like yourself. But the tendency that most people do, especially when they start doing voiceover, is to want to perform it and shout it like, you ought to get to know refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. It's too much. It's too much. That will most of the time will get you disqualified right out of the gate. And the first line is the most important. You really want to nail that. Also, like I mentioned, putting on a voiceover voice, aka announcer read, when not asked for it. The reason that I put this here is because sometimes they want that. Announcer reads aren't dead, but most of the time they're going to be asking for that nice conversational read. So what does that sound like? You know, like I said, just like you're talking to somebody a foot away from them. You're just having a conversation as you. You ought to get to know refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Imagine if everyone in the world bought 3 baskets of groceries, dropped one off on the ground, and left it there to rot. It's ridiculous. But that's essentially what's happening when 1/3 of the food is never eaten. Anyway, you get the picture. You don't have to put a whole lot into it. And it comes across as more authentic. And brands love that because it helps build trust with the people they're trying to sell. You don't want to be selly. You don't want to put on a voice. You don't want to push too hard. And another one that I also put in overacting is going too fast. And what does going too fast sound like? Oftentimes when people start doing voiceover, they just rip it out, especially the first couple lines, and then they kind of relax after the nerves drop. They'll be like, you ought to get to know refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Way too fast. People are like, what the hell did I just hear? So slow it down. Always slow it down. The vast majority of people go way too fast. Oh, and this here, putting on a voiceover, the AKA announcer read when not asked for it. Here's a situation where they do kind of ask for it. So look at this NASCAR walk-on sizzle video for a conference. We'd like to have a voice mirror that of a NASCAR announcer, more where the voice is deep and drawn out, overly emphasized, like this. I'm not going to show this because I get the idea. It's going to sound more like, you know, they're asking for that, an actual announcer of a sports thing. He's the winner of the 2025 season kickoff in Daytona, the 2024 NASCAR Xfinity Series Rookie of the Year, and the youngest ARCA Menard Series champion in history. That's when you want to do that kind of announcer read, when they're asking for it and the voiceover is clearly asking for it. Not when you're talking about a medical read, not when you're talking about cancer. You don't want to be like, you love your loved ones. Come down to Regional Health where we eliminate cancer. That would be a funny video if they did that. Cancer's never funny. Another silent killer, flat delivery, underacting. So on the opposite of overacting, we have doing way too loud, just nothing. You're flat, you're dead. You might as well just be in a grave. That's weird. You're doing absolutely nothing. When we say be authentic and talk like you're having a conversation, that doesn't mean dead. People take it that way and they think that means do nothing. And sure, there are some voiceovers where you don't really have to do a whole lot and just saying the words is fine. But the vast majority still have a point of view. They still have your personality behind it. It's just not pushed. Listen to yourself next time you're in a conversation. Think about all the energy shifts. People will read a voiceover read and just read it like they're reading it. You want to have energy shifts. So, how many times, since I've been talking and I don't have a script, I'm just going off the top of my head. How many times have I changed the speed I'm talking in? Have I slowed down? Have I emphasized words to make a point? Use silences to emphasize things? All energy shifts. That's what we do. You do it too when you have a conversation, unless you truly do have no personality and you talk flat. In that case, get into an improv class. It's going to help you out. I get it. It's hard, but it's scary putting yourself out there and your personality out there, but you need one if you're going to be successful at voiceover. It's mandatory, especially with the rise of AI. AI shines when it's doing reads with devoid of personality. That's where it's hard to tell the difference between that and a person. I don't teach no personality reads. I think you can put personality into everything. In fact, when I do medical reads, that's one of the top reasons why they say they hire me, is because I put personality into an industry where most people don't. Most people think when you do medical reads, you want to be very clinical, very serious, very professional. And sure, there's some room for that, but definitely personality. You're dealing with people. Monotone read. Again, with the same kind of deal as the energy shifts, just monotone read. What does that sound like? Let's go back to this example. You ought to get to know refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Imagine if everyone in the world bought 3 baskets of groceries, dropped one on the ground, and left it there to rot. It's ridiculous. But that's essentially what's happening when 1/3 of all food is never eaten. It's just nothing there, right? And when you're doing a read with no personality in it, you're just you're gambling, because you're hoping that they're going to like your voice more than the other person's voice, or more than the other 100 people or whatever that are auditioned for the job. And I don't think that's an effective way to start booking consistently. You want to throw your personality in there, always. Zero connection. This happens when people forget that there's somebody listening to their voiceover. Don't think there's going to be hundreds of people listening to it. Think there's going to be one. And a cliche in voiceover, they always say, sound like you're talking to your best friend. And it works. I like to say that, think about talking to your best friend, and if you put on a voice, would they call you out on it? If I started talking to my friend like, you ought to get to know refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system, I bet 100% of the time, any of my friends would turn around and go, are you doing a voiceover on us? You want to trick it. Like, it should be seamless in a conversation. You ought to get to know refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Now you sound like a person. More connection rather than zero connection. Again, you want to sound like you're talking to a person. Imagine talking to your best friend, and take a second, really see them. You ought to get to know refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Now you have connection. Just taking that extra second to really picture it. Mark Grau, the legendary Mark Grau, who is also a teacher in VoiceOver School, he says that he puts a stuffed animal on a stand behind the microphone so he has something to talk to. I've never seen him actually do that, but I think that's brilliant. So, if you have trouble imagining, just put like a stuffed animal or something that you can actually talk to, because proximity is the thing too. If you can't clearly imagine somebody in your mind that's standing right in front of you, you're still going to raise your voice when you talk, and, you're just going to blast it out there generally. But if you actually have something to talk to, that could be really helpful. I've never done it. I'm pretty good at imagining things because I see dead people. I'm just kidding. That's a callback to, I forget. It's a Bruce Willis movie. And what is that? Perush, what's the movie? I see dead people. Somebody in the comments tell me. I have an active imagination. No energy shifts, monotone read, zero connection. These things are killing your audition. So just flip it. Put energy shifts in like you do in real life. A read full of personality, no matter the genre. Put you into it, but don't go too fast or push too hard. Put you in it naturally, but not push too hard or going too fast or putting on a voice. You naturally is the opposite of monotone read, not an announcer read. Zero connection. You just want to take a second and just connect like you're talking to someone, kind of like how I am talking to you right now. You see that energy shift where I'm actually just trying to get through to you and just talk to you like a person? I know there's probably going to be hundreds of people that watch this video. Doesn't it feel like I'm talking right to you? That's what you want to do in voiceover. I don't know you. We haven't met. Maybe some of you I have met, but I'm talking right to you. That's the secret to voiceover. Really imagine talking to one person. That's it, just one. Here's another one. This one's big. This is actually on voices.com, Voice123, they say this is one of the top killers of auditions. This what usually gets them tossed is bad studio editing. Bad bad studio. What's bad studio and bad editing? So a bad studio in generally is, noisy audio, which can manifest itself in, let's say that you've got a noisy area. You live downtown in some big city, or you have planes coming over the top, or your neighbor blasts music all the time and you're not doing anything to record around it or mitigate it. And that stuff bleeds into your audio. That's not good. You want to be listening to your audio with headphones on when you're editing, so you can hear the background noise. Maybe you got an air conditioner going. You have to get rid of all that. Or you're in an untreated space, so you've got reflections bouncing off all the walls, and your audio just sounds echoing. It just sounds like crap. I promise you, they can tell. The more you do voiceover, and especially like audio engineers, all they do is listen to audio. They can tell the difference immediately. So you want to spend time getting a good studio, not a bad studio. And you can make a good one for pretty cheap. I've got videos on that. Check out my channel. I got a few videos on how to set up a proper home studio. Many other YouTubers do. It's easy to do. Another one, this one's, I think, probably just as deadly as having a shit studio, was having a good studio, but then putting way too much processing on it. Too much processing. Let's use the pencil. My first time using the pencil, ladies and gentlemen. No. Unhappy face. What's too much processing? Compressing the hell out of your audio, EQing the crap out of it. But mostly, when you do noise removal with something like a plugin, like an NS1 denoiser, whatever the actual technical term is, Wave Studios, NS1. Anyway, if you're using an NS1 and you're watching this and you have it, I think Jordan Reynolds, who's the audio ninja, he said don't use it higher than like 0.3. I've seen people use it as high as 20 or 30. Don't. I used it before on I think 6, and that was no good. I don't use it. I don't recommend it. I can hear it. I used it for a very short period of time and realized I could hear it, and it was just like taking all the crispness off my audio. So the best way to get rid of room tone, if you've got an excessive amount of it, is just to take a noise profile off the beginning. Just like what I do is I snap. If I'm going to do that, I don't have to do it now because my space is great. But when I was back in New York, sometimes the air conditioner would be on in the summer, and I would go like this, and I'd hold my breath. You hold your breath. Count to 5, snap again. And you can see on the waveform, there'll be 2 spikes. And in between those spikes, you won't be breathing. You'll be dead quiet. All you will hear is whatever the noise tone, the room tone is that you're trying to get rid of. Take a profile of that, apply it to the whole wave file, the whole audio file, and it'll just remove just that. Because if you don't hold your breath while you're taking a noise profile, it's going to catch that breath and it's going to remove it from the rest of it. It's going to sound like trash again. So back to the original thing here. Don't do too much processing. Do some basic background noise removal. Don't do it with a plugin because it will probably catch your breath. It's the only plugin I know that works really, really well and in real time. There's 2. There's RX, but that doesn't work in real time. Isotope RX, I think they're on 11 now. That gets rid of background noise really, really well. They use it on movies. And the CVox C-Suite denoiser for the Apollo, for Universal Audio, works with the Apollo Twin or a Quad or 10 or whatever you have. I have the Apollo Twin, and it's a plugin for that. It's like $300 or something like that. Sometimes it goes on sale, and it works in real time, and that's a really good one, and it doesn't degrade your audio. So other than that, don't do too much processing. If you don't know how to process, don't try to do it on your own. And if you're gonna do it on your own, you're like, you, Jesse, I don't care what you say. I took a couple classes on audio production. I know what I'm doing. You don't, but just err on the side of very little. But for God's sake, hire a professional to do your audio chain for you, like Jordan Reynolds or George the Tech. They're going to do it, and it's going to sound way, 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 way better. Don't mess around with that stuff. And the time you save when you get a professional to do it for you instead of trying to do it yourself is it's irreplaceable. Time is the only commodity you don't get back. And you could spend every day for the next 5 years trying to learn about post audio, and you still won't be anywhere near as good as George the Tech and Jordan Reynolds. So just hire them. Get it out of the way. You don't have to think about whether you're using too much processing or not. This one is not too many people know. From coaching as many people I have now, I've noticed when I do one-on-ones with them, looking how they're labeling their files and they're not putting their name. When you're doing pay-to-play sites, agents are different. They'll give you the exact labeling instructions and you better follow them. When you're doing pay-to-play sites, people sometimes just name the file the name of the project. If you do that and they like what they hear and they look at the file and they don't have your profile in front of them because they can download your MP3s, they have no idea who you are and how to contact you. So the correct labeling, the way I like to say is the correct way, the way I do it, seems to work for me. I put my name first. So Jesse, capital J, Carol, capital C, the space in between, and an underscore connecting it to either the job number or the project name. The project's name, like looking for a male VO for 30-second, I just put the project number. Or I will see what the end client is in the script and I will type that in. Just keep it real simple, but you want to put your name first, because when you look at columns, when you're looking at columns of downloaded things on your computer, all you really see most of the time, especially if it's a skinny column, is the first couple words. So you want to make sure that they know your name and they see it right away so they can find you again if they listen to it and like it. Generic tone. This kind of sounds like this a little bit, but it's slightly different, because I'm not saying flat. I'm saying generic, meaning how you get this is you try to give the client exactly what they want. So here's that script, but here's the post for it. We're looking for a voice that is confident, informative, and compassionate. We are supporting not wasting food and ensuring people are fed. So what is this? Confident, informative, compassionate. If I do it like, you ought to get to know Refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Imagine if everyone in the world bought 3 baskets of groceries, dropped one on the ground, and left it there to rot. It's ridiculous. But that's essentially what's happening when 1/3 of all food is never eaten. So I'm trying to be confident, empathetic, warm, compassionate. But that's how everyone's going to do it, because that's exactly what the client was asking for. So you take what they're asking for, okay, well, it's compassionate, it's confident, you're driving change in the food industry, and then you're reading the script and you're like, well, what's my spin on it? And what's my personality like? Well, I'm kind of funny. So I might add my own personality into this to sound different. So if I know everyone's going to do it confident and compassionate, and I add that in, but I also go, you ought to get to know Refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. Imagine if everyone in the world bought 3 baskets of groceries, dropped one on the ground, and left one in there to rot. It's ridiculous. But that's essentially what's happening when 1/3 of all food is never eaten. I take what they say, but then I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to internalize that, and I am going to riff on this the way I would talk in everyday life. I'm going to care about it. That's going to add the empathy. That's going to add some warmness to it. It's going to sound like I'm talking to someone and connecting with them, but I'm going to let me be me because I know that nobody can replicate that. And I know it's going to stand out right away. I use my own cadence. I'll billboard words the way I do in real life. And that's how you sound non-generic. And you get their ears to perk up and they go, oh, even if it's totally different from what they're saying. Don't take a total departure from what they're saying. Include it, but not as much as you think. Your point of view on the script is worth way more. You want to put your own personality in. Otherwise, you're just leaving up to chance of who they think has the best voice for their brand. And that, again, I don't think that's a very effective way to book consistently. No brand or a point of view. So how do you have a point of view on the brand or the script? Well, okay, we got to get to know Refed because we're the ones driving change in our food system. How do you feel about that? Do you care about driving change in the food system? What do you care about people wasting food and just leaving it there to rot? Maybe that pisses you off a little bit and you can add that. It's pretty straightforward. Well, let's look at another one here. Narrator, when you're in trouble, you want a hospital. That's a place that's close. That's right. That's where you need it. But Donald Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill will... Okay, so here you go. This is pretty polarizing right here. Without even reading this, what's your point of view on this whole thing? I know that politics is a hot button issue in America or the world, really. American politics are affecting the world. I'm actually Canadian, but no matter which side of the aisle you fall on, you're going to have an opinion about this. Not everything's going to have a strong opinion, is going to invoke a strong opinion like this would, but it's the same kind of thing with anything. How do you feel about Nike shoes? How do you feel about DoorDash? How do you feel about Uber? All those major brands. How do you feel about what they're talking about in the script? And if you don't care about something, substitute it. You have to have a point of view, even if you manufacture it from your own life. So let's just say, for shits and giggles, I don't know what Nike is. And I research, I'm like, okay, so they're like a foot apparel company. I don't care about that. But what do I care about? I care about video games. I care about The Witcher 4 being made. And I saw the trailer. It's awesome. So I substitute talking about Nike with The Witcher 4, and then I let it go and I start the script. I could do a whole video on that. But the point is, if you want more help learning how to break down a script and understand how your personality and your point of view comes into place in it and how to actually perform that way, join VoiceOver School. Links are below. Check it out. At the time of this video, it's, well, I'm not going to say the price. Actually, I will say the price. At the time of this video, it's $97 a month, or save 50% and join for a year for $597. And also have a mentorship, links below to apply for that, but only for serious people. If you're super serious, apply for it, and I'll have a chat with you personally, and we can go from there. But you need to learn how to do that, how to have a point of view on the brand and the script. Otherwise, you're going to sound generic. And if you need help with that, more than happy to help with that. No risk, not memorable. Again, going to this script here. You know, a risk in this first line, because this is the most important. You ought to get to know Refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. So like a risk could be like a little improv at the beginning. Not happy with the way things are going? You ought to get to know Refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. See, it's a little lead in, it's a little improv that shows that you understand the script and where it's going. But when they hear over and over, all the auditions are going to say, you ought to get to know Refed, you ought to get to know Refed, you ought to get to know Refed. And you say, not happy with the way things are going? You ought to get to know with Refed. You ought to get to know Refed. Right away, their ears perk up and they're like, oh, who's this? And they forget about the improv. Don't do it more than a few words, and it has to like lead into what the script actually is. You don't want it to be completely, you know, like, so I was walking outside of my house one day and I thought, you ought to get to know Refed. This is ridiculous. It has to make sense. But a risk like that, or even a risk in tone, you can do that sometimes. If they said they wanted this dramatic and serious and I came in and I did, hey, you ought to get to know Refed, because we're the ones driving change in our food system. That's going to make their ears perk up and they might go, oh, not what we asked for, but we never thought about it like that. That's pretty good too. No risk, no reward. So make sure you take a risk in that script. Doesn't have to be a huge one, just a little one. I like to do them at the beginning because most auditions don't get listened to past 3 to 5 seconds. So if you're going to put a risk, put it in the beginning so they hear it. Put it at the end, probably not going to hear it. What else? Not following directions. Now that we talked about breaking all the directions, let's talk about not following all the directions. What I mean, adding music or a slate or a no slate. Generally speaking, in pay to play, you don't add a slate. A slate is just saying at the beginning, hi, I'm Jesse Carroll, or just Jesse Carroll in your agency name. Or sometimes when you get auditions from agents, they'll ask you to say what city you're located in and what your studio capabilities are. Pay to play, you don't do that. You just get right to the script. Sometimes they will say in the directions that they want you to slate and how to do it. And that's a detriment if you're not adding that in. So always pay attention to the directions, whether they want a slate or a no slate. And if they don't say, it's always no slate. If they don't say to slate, you no slate. Never add in music. Never add in music or sound effects. I didn't put it in there, so we'll put it in after right now. Just don't. Don't add music or sound effects. I have yet to do it even once. Some people think that it's going to give them a leg up. They don't care. They have their own post-audio engineers. So just don't do it. Ignored labeling instructions. This is a big one. Sometimes in pay to play, they will say how they want it labeled. They want it with your first name first and then an underscore between that and your last name, or they want a hyphen, or they want the job name, or they want it to just always look for labeling instructions and follow them. You won't see them a huge amount in pay to play. But you will see them when you're agent. When you're those of you who have agents or those of you looking to get agents, 90% of the time they will have labeling instructions for auditions from your agent, and you have to follow them because the casting director will not even listen. They will throw them out if you label it wrong. So make sure you follow the labeling instructions. And if you skip the spec instructions, I do that myself sometimes. They'll say, like, let's say it's a hospital ad and I'm like, I've done a bunch of these, I know how they go. And I read it like, you know, empathetic, and I take my time on a real person. And I missed in the spec instructions, they said, this is a farce of a 1980s commercial. We want it big and loud and over the top. In that case, you follow the directions. You might want to take a risk, but do it on a second take. And if you're going to do 2 takes for pay to play, you go 2 takes at the beginning. That's the only time you slate. If they're asking for something that's stylistic like that, make sure that you see it. And they'll put it like right in the spec instructions. They may tell you that they want it a 1 second pause between lines, things like that. Always, always, always look at the spec instructions. But if they're just kind of generic instructions, like, we're looking for a voice that is confident, informative, and compassionate. We're supporting not wasting food and ensuring people are fed. So this is just like kind of generic direction. In this case, I would like take that into account, but then I'd also kind of do my own thing. But if it said, we are looking for a take on a specific commercial, and if they put in a reference link, that kind of thing. That's what I want to be paying attention to. And by the way, for reference links, when they give you a reference video, it's to give you inspiration of how they want the read to go. They do not want an impersonation of that voice actor. And oftentimes the voice actors aren't good. On the flip side, they're famous and they can't get them. But don't try to copy them. I can't tell you how many projects I've booked where they said that they wanted John Hamm and I booked it. They said that they wanted Tom Hardy and I booked it. I'm not British. I've booked jobs where they said they wanted a Judi Dench type. I'm not old, I'm not a lady, and I'm also not British. And I've booked those jobs. I've booked Morgan Freeman. It's not so much about the reference that they give, it's about the feeling that those references are giving off, not the quality of the voice. So now, one last thing here. This is probably, I'd say, the biggest one, in my opinion. Submitting too slowly. If all these things here, we'll just say this with a caveat. If all these things are met, all these things we just talked about, even one of these can blow up your chances or eliminate them to explosive success. If this is not met, all this will go to hell. Submit right away, especially on pay to play. As soon as that job goes up, get an email notification, whatever you got to do, submit it right away. Same with agents. And if you have an agent, and they're batch submitting you, if that's the way they do it, that's the way they do it. But I would say, hey, if I can get you my audition in earlier, will you send it right away? Because once they hear the voice, they're going to stop looking. And if you do a good job in the beginning, they're going to compare everybody else to you. You do not want it the other way around. Speed is king in voiceover. Speed is king. I can't say it enough. There we have it. Just as a recap, overacting, underacting, bad studio and editing, generic tone, too much processing. No. No sound effects, music, or a slate. Follow directions to a point and don't submit slow. Submit fast as you can. If you've made it this far in this video, please consider liking, subscribing. Subscribe. There's, what is it? I think it's 65% of the people that watch this channel haven't subscribed yet. The more people subscribe, the more videos I can make, the bigger the guests. I want to get guests on this. So if we get to, what are we at right now? 24,000 subscribers. If we can get to 30,000 subscribers, I can get some pretty badass guests. I'm looking at some very famous voice actors that I want to get on the show here and start getting their take, because, you know, I can tell you so much, but there's people with careers that have had success beyond my wildest dreams. And just like you, I want to ask them how they did it. So if you subscribe to this channel, I promise you, I commit to you that I will try and go out and get those people and get their point of view, so we can all learn more and attack this together like a team. We're going to make it. We're going to dominate the commercial industry, and we're going to all book an anime and a video game and AAAs, and gravy train is coming. So like, subscribe, share with a friend. And if you're looking to do voiceover, not alone, but with a group of awesome 180 plus killers in the voiceover industry who are all booking work and helping each other do the same, consider joining VoiceOver School. Check the links below. You can just straight sign up for that. If you want to work directly with me in one-on-one, privacy of our own computers, I have a mentoring program. See the links below. And other than that, I'm Jesse, and this has been another video, and we will see you in the next one. Peace. No, I did it. I did the sign off again. Somebody tell me a better sign off. How do I'm gonna use Chat GPT to come up with a new sign off for you.